Any thoughts on the recent N64 price increases and popularity? Which also leads into our next topic of what the fuck. Game prices have, even more so than like late than before, have just gone off the goddamn rails lately. And I'll give you some examples, but first, Brad, let you talk about, at the very least, N64 price increases.
I saw that, and I'm sure what you're going to reference is what we saw on Twitter, which is like the PS2, what was it, Smackdown? Uh,
Yeah,
here,
here comes the pain.
here,
Went from being like a $20 game complete to like 50 to 60.
yeah.
Knuckles Chaotix on the 32X for years was like a 50 to $60 game, and now it's selling complete for like over 150. Def Jam Fight for New York is like a $150 game now. It was always like $50 for whatever reason. I guess it was rare. And like Donkey Kong 64 used to be like $35 complete, and now it's over 100. And this is over the matter of like the last 2 months. Like shit is going off the rails.
The only thing I can assume is with all the shit that's going on with the pandemic and people being at home and probably people just buying up and right before like the pandemic really hit and a lot of stores probably closed, it wouldn't shock me if people went out there and mass bought stuff. That's the only thing that makes legit sense to me, because otherwise I guess that would be the generation that would be next for high prices,
Yeah.
in theory. But yeah, I think this is a bubble. I don't think it stays. I mean, I think you're gonna get a lot of people like you kind of commented, which pissed me off. But you're like, oh, I don't care about my PS2 collection. I'm gonna sell mine. And unfortunately, I think there's a lot of people that will kind of see that. It's just like the stock market. They're going to see if prices are high, they're going to sell, there's going to be an over influx, and then a bunch of people are going to start trying to get into it, and then all the prices are going to drop again. Like NES had that when we first started the site. Like games like Contra were
$50.
fucking insane.
Yeah.
And now it's come down and it's normal again. But there are those periods of this famine thinking where everything's expensive. What I will argue,
Buy the dip.
and you and I talked about, I haven't, and I don't, other than, I'd say up until the PS1 era, I don't emulate games. But I've emulated like Turbo Graphics, Saturn, Jaguar. I've emulated all kinds of crazy shit. And I'm fine with that, because if I'm just trying to play the game, I don't care. I haven't found a good enough emulator for PS1 and N64. I know you can buy EverDrives, and they might work fine. I haven't done that, but I'm saying just off my PC. So I feel like the ease of emulation also helped always kind of keep the prices of those game systems a little flat. But now I think people are realizing, like, oh yeah, that probably will be the next system that gets a whole bunch of these mini releases, and people are going to start collecting hardcore for these systems, and there's just price gouging, this and that. I don't know why the fuck Smackdown, Here Comes the Pain. I didn't think that was there was anything limited about that. I thought that sold like goddamn hotcakes.
Oh,
I
it
don't
did.
know why that makes zero sense to me. Like, it's got to be someone who was able to con somebody into buying it that high off eBay, and then a few people saw it and they're like, well, we'll sell it this high, and people are just willing to buy it for some. I don't know, it doesn't make sense to me.
I mean, it's one of the most loved wrestling games ever, so, I mean, if one of them's going to go off like that, I guess it makes sense it's that one. But like you said, they make billions of copies of these games, so there's no reason for it to be that expensive. It should it should be a $5 Goodwill game.
Same
rights.
with the N64 and their games in general. There wasn't that many N64 games, but they made a ton of copies. So unless you're talking about the Japanese exclusives, what the fuck? Closed in box to me is always a whole other animal. Like, crazy assholes like you, no offense, Jim, are always willing to pay stupid prices for closed in box. But N64 closed in box, those boxes, number one, are dog shit. They're the worst boxes of any collection ever. They fall apart really quick. I don't get why that's jumping up either. So I'm hoping it's just a weird surge because of the pandemic and people having a surplus, trying to sell off. I don't know, man. It would be weird though if that is a thing.
I think pandemic's a great reason. Actually, I didn't even think of that. I thought it was just a normal, oh, this is the cycle, this is the console that it does this for now. But I guess the pandemic like kicked it into high gear of people being locked in and being like, I want to play this again from my childhood. Why not?
Yep.
And like back to your point, like the only reason I'm complete in box with N64 is because when I grew up, I never threw away my boxes. So that's why like NES and Super NES, I don't give a shit. Give me cartridge only is perfectly fine because I don't have the nostalgia with that. But you know, the mindset I always had as a kid, I always kept my boxes. So that's why, you know, if I ever get another N64 game, I want it in the box because it's got to match everything goddamn else because I'm a crazy person. So I at least have that kind of excuse there. Not saying it makes it right. I'm just saying it's more of an excuse than I like having boxes for N64 games because I would love to be a guy who just had the cartridges. But
that's what I mean, yeah, we've discussed this on here. Jim grew up with the collector's mentality from the time he was a kid, got it from his dad, and to me, I was always like, save space. Like, I'm glad I actually for a while there had like all my DVDs, PlayStation 2 games, and like those big sleeve books. So luckily I didn't throw it out. I still have all my PS2 and PS1 things, but for a while there, it was like that. Like, I was just like, save as much space as possible. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, there's like certain games that were like always kind of expensive, like Conquer or like StarCraft 64, and I mean they haven't gone up much more than they were, but it's the more random ones like Star Fox 64, for example. That was like complete in box. There's 10 billion copies of it out there. That was like a $25 game complete in box. Now that's like over 100, and I'm just like, oh, wow. Like, if I didn't have such nostalgia, because it's my favorite game, I'm not going to get rid of it. But I'm so goddamn... I just look at it like, that is a profit right there. God damn it.
But here's the deal. And putting aside your nostalgia, honestly, I look at an N64 game like that, there's no way that's actually worth that much money. Like, I'm talking strictly from a game... Like, right now, especially you could probably blast through that entire game in, what, half an hour? Tops.
Oh, yeah.
But it's just like, whether you have fun with it or not, like, knowing what new games are and what they can give you, like, that game isn't, like, the pinnacle of greatest games. You love it because you have your nostalgia, you grew up with it, just like me with Resident Evil. If you told me tomorrow Resident Evil Director's Cut was $200, I'd be like, get the fuck, don't ever pay that.
Right.
I love the shit out of that game, but I'd say closing box, you never pay more than $50-$60 tops. And I know people pay crazy prices for it. I just don't agree. You're not getting your money's worth if you're a true gamer. If you're a collector and there's a different mentality there, and it's a rarity thing, it's like baseball cards. But from a true what you're getting out of the game, oof.
Yeah,
N64 is a rough system.
Yeah, at least
I'm not shitting on it. Like,
I know
I'm not shitting on it.
I know. No, what do you call it? Like, yeah, at least with like the rarity thing, I get, because hard to find is hard to find. Not many copies is not many copies. But when you get to the things that have like billions of copies out there, there's no reason for it to be that expensive. Even if it's like, I get the want to play it will drive up the price, but give it a couple months because that's just highway robbery.
Yeah, please don't buy at this point. And you know what the problem is? When you see price surges like this, you're going to see people reporting on it. You're going to see people like
us.
Oh, yeah, I did like that game. Well, yeah, but I'm saying like more important people. And you're going to see just generally like, oh, yeah, I did like that game. You know what? Maybe it is worth paying $50-$60 for Smackdown. You know, here comes the pain. It's just, yeah, it's interesting, but it's a bubble. Let it pass. That's all I'll suggest.
Probably, would you say it's like a kidney stone?
Never had one, Jim, but I don't imagine it's something that's really painful and makes you have to pee, and it hurts when you pee.
Me neither, but I hear it's not pleasant.
Yeah, so I would not equate it to that, Jim.
Well, there you go. I tried. Fuck me then.
Got a lot of sand.
Got sand.